Hello, mujeres. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mujeres de Pilar. Hi, I hope that you guys are having a really good week this week. I, on the other hand, have just been in this funk. The last 3 days specifically have just been caca, and I don't know. I think coronavirus is really just like taking a huge toll on me, and it has this like negative energy spell that it is like trying to cast on me, and my bruja ways are just like, no, not allowing it. But at the same time, I'm kind of weak in that sense because I just miss everything about quote unquote regular life. Not everything, actually. There are some things that we needed to get rid of, but I just miss my friends and I miss being social, and this week has just been a tough week. So I actually wanted to record this episode on Monday because this week was a very important woman's birthday, and her name is Pilar, and I am talking about my Nana Pilar. Her birthday was on May 18th, and originally I wanted to have a podcast recorded, and I wanted to post it on her birthday in honor of her. And I don't know why I just kept getting, just like straight away from recording the video, just finding like all kinds of excuses and then just being in a funky mood. And I mean, I think I know what it has to do with, but I had just been prolonging it. And today was actually a much better day, and I had a lot of surprises. I had a letter in the mail from a really good friend of mine, Noemi Gonzalez. She's actually the one who illustrates all of the art that you see on Mujeres de Pilar podcast on Instagram. And then I came home and my boyfriend bought me a new, a new microphone, and it has like a fancy arm and it moves, and I was super excited to use it. So I was like, you know what? Today I am recording my Nana's podcast because I have to. I have no reason not to. And so I think a part of the reason I was so nervous to record this episode was because I didn't actually get to meet my Nana. So I didn't know her. I've grown up hearing about her and seeing pictures of her, and of course her youngest son raised me, my daddy, but I don't know much more about her, and I was a little nervous to approach the topic, and also what specific topic would I be giving everybody. So today's episode is Pilar, and this is dedicated to my family, my cousins, my tios and tias, to my tata, and of course, most important, my daddy. So this is for you, Dad. I feel like this year, her birthday just was very heavy on my heart emotionally. I feel like she was really young when she passed away. She was in her late 40s. I believe she was 46 or 47. And my dad was actually only 18 years old when she passed away. And I feel like the older that I get, the more it starts to sit with me how young my dad was when he lost her. Like, of course I know that he was young, but I'm really starting to understand how young he was. And I've been very fortunate in life. Like, yes, I've experienced a lot of death. I also think I have a lot of understanding and acceptance for death, but I haven't experienced death with somebody who it really breaks me. The only person would be my Nana Cecilia, and that is an emotion that I think has just been like, maybe I kind of block it out a little bit because she was the hardest experience that I ever had to experience was, her funeral. And so fortunately for me, that's the only experience that I have to reference. And I think that it's still valid. I can relate to my dad, but, obviously he lost his mother. And so I feel like, I really wanted to make this episode because I just wanted to bring back some memories. So, like I've told you guys before, not every episode is going to be for everybody. It's not supposed to be. This episode is specifically for my family and my dad. So, if you guys don't listen to the whole episode, that's okay. But if you do want to get to know a little bit more about me and my background and my family, then, I hope that you enjoy it. So to cover today's episode, I had reached out to my dad on Monday on her birthday, like I normally do, and we usually just say like, oh, today's Nana's birthday, and we might talk a little bit about her. But this Monday, I sent him a message, and I just told him, hey, talk to me about my Nana Pilar. And I think right away, like as I read through the message, like my heart just instantly broke because he wrote, I miss her, with, an exclamation point. And I know my dad does, and I don't know if this is a Latino thing specifically or if this is just a my family thing. We've actually, my parents specifically have experienced death very close to them. Both of them have lost parents. Both of them have lost older siblings. And I feel as though we like talk about those individuals, but we don't talk about them enough. We don't stress enough information on them, and I imagine that it's because there's a lot of pain behind it. And so, with my dad, he said he missed her, but then, he just goes on to say that, she enjoyed good conversation. She loved Halloween. She was a welcoming individual. She loved her kids and her grandchildren so much. And I don't know, but if you guys are from Phoenix, Arizona, then most of you guys might know of the bridal shop, Azteca. So Azteca is this really big bridal shop in Arizona. And I remember being a little girl going into Azteca, and I always thought like, oh my God, this is where my wedding dress is going to come from one day. Well, my grandma actually worked for them. She was a seamstress. And well, my grandma passed away of colon cancer, and she also had tumors on her lungs. And unfortunately, my grandma was born very ill. So she was sick her entire life. Well, she used to work for Azteca as a seamstress, and they would actually allow her to work from home. And I just think that how strong is she? Like, how beautiful is she? Like, she continued to work even when she was sick. Like, she's just strength. And I just think that that's so beautiful. So, my dad talks about that. He says that she loved her man, my tata, and being around her just made you feel that everything was going to be all right. So today I actually decided to reach out to my tias. So my grandma had 5 children, 2 sons and 3 daughters. And I reached out to both of my tias today, and just to get, some more insight. They are older than my dad, so I thought maybe they have a little bit more memories or history that they can remember about my grandma. So my grandma was born in Brawley, California, and she moved to Arizona later in life. Her parents were field workers, so my grandma would stay home, and my tia said that my grandma knew how to make homemade tortillas, but she hardly liked to make them because she would make them so much as a little girl. She would make them like 4 times a day. So my tata, when he married her, and actually when they got married, they eloped, which I just think is so beautiful. And I don't know, I just applaud people who elope, because sometimes, I mean, I haven't experienced it, but I hear that planning a wedding is just so crazy, and it's always about everybody else and not about you. And my grandparents are just an example of fighting for a love that they believed in. So they eloped, and my tia says that when he married her, he told her, like, you're never gonna have to make tortillas again unless you want to. And she would make them sometimes, but she didn't make them all the time. But she did make the best empanadas. And I wish that I could have learned that from her, even though I had my Nana Cecilia around for 18 years of my life. I didn't learn how to cook too much from her. I just never been that good in the kitchen. Honestly, it's just not my strong suit. Now that I'm older and I live with my boyfriend, and because we're so far away from home, I have forced myself to learn to cook. And I'm actually a good cook, okay? I'm going to give myself credit. I just don't love it as much as like my nanas loved it. But my tia says that my grandma made the best empanadas. And one of my tias, she sent me, honestly, with all the information that she sent me, I honestly think I could probably write a book for my nana. And it's just so beautiful. It was really hard for me to get through this message with dry eyes. Well, one, I'm just emotional. Honestly, I cry for everything, and I've been super emotional the last couple days. But specifically reading this message really just had me in my feelings. I couldn't really get through it. I was reading it out loud to my boyfriend, and I couldn't breathe. But I'm gonna read you guys some of it, okay? And so my tia says, I miss her smile, her voice. She had a low-key voice, and I always wonder what my nana's voice sounded like. I wish to like hear her speak. That's just always been something that I wish I could hear. I wish I could hear her talk. And so she said that she always made people laugh, and that she loved to talk to people everywhere that she went. She said that she would love this generation of cell phones because she stayed talking on the phone. She could talk on the phone for hours, and she would talk to her mom, she would talk to her sister. She loved being on the phone, and she was always the one doing all the talking. The other people were probably mostly just listening, but she loved to talk and she loved to laugh. She met people everywhere that she went, and she would be in the grocery stores, or when they would go out to eat, she would be talking to people for forever. And when she would walk away, my tia would tell her, "Who were you talking to?" And she would tell them, "I don't know, I just met them." And I think I don't know, I just imagine my nana being so charismatic to be able to pull people in that you don't even know, to have this conversation for whatever amount of time it is. But for that amount of time, they just want to be invested in you. Like, she must have had a very charismatic character. Something that really just gets me stuck, man. I'm probably gonna get stuck right now too, but my tia says that, she loved to get dressed up. She loved to get dressed up. She loved to do her makeup and her hair, but she specifically loved to get ready when she knew that my tata was coming home. And she would get ready every day before he got home from work. The only times that she wasn't able to do that was when she was sick, because she was just too ill to get out of bed and too ill to put in that effort. But I think that's beautiful because, I am a feminist, but I think that, man, like, how beautiful. Like, I want to look good for him, and I want to get all dolled up for him. And she just loved him, and that type of love is just priceless. They said that she was the queen of the house, and she better be the queen of the house. So she was the queen of the house. And, something that I admire about my tata is my tia says that my tata made it very clear to all of the kids in the house that my nana came first. And of course that they were able to have things, they were able to buy things, but all of the money went to going to purchasing my nana's medicine. And nobody better talk back to her. Nobody better give her a hard time. These kids really respected her, and they knew that her health was so important. And I think that that's so special because we never know how long we have on this earth. We take our parents for granted. Some of us, unfortunately, do not have our parents. And for those of us who do, we take it for granted, and we don't appreciate or acknowledge their being until later on in life, until we're adults, until we don't have them right next to us. But I think it's really beautiful that even as children, like I said, my dad was 18 when she passed away. So at a young age, her children were able to understand how important her life was, how important her time on this earth was. And they respected that. They made sure not to give her any problems. And, my tia goes on to say that all of her family loved her. She loved everybody, and she loved helping and doing everything for everybody, especially her in-laws. She took care of everyone. And she said even though she was so sweet, she was feisty, and everybody knew it. She was going to let you know if she felt good or if she felt bad. She was very open and very forward. Nobody could push her around. And even though she was tiny, my grandma was probably only like, I'm like 4'9", so I think my grandma was maybe like, either she was 4'9" too, or maybe 4'10" or 4'11". She was very petite. And she wouldn't let anybody push her around. And you know, both of my tias mentioned, you know, her love for crocheting and making dresses. And something cute that my tia says is that my grandma used to make dresses for the holidays for them. And she's like, this is because back then we actually dressed up for the holidays. And I love that because my tia's so right. Nowadays, you know, people, including me, I can hang out in my pajamas all day or wear shorts and a basic shirt. But no, they got all dolled up for the holidays, and people wearing pajamas to, you know, to the grocery stores. My grandma would not be for that. You know, and I'm all for you living your best life, but I know if my grandma was around, she wouldn't allow it. And she just goes on to say that she loved her grandchildren. And, you know, 3 of my oldest cousins, they were actually able to spend time with my grandma. 2 of them, you know, really being able to spend years with my grandma. But my 3rd oldest cousin, he was actually a baby when she passed away. But my tia said even in the time that she got to spend with that cousin, even though he was a baby, she would put him in the hospital bed with her and talk to him and feed him. And my oldest cousin, you know, told my tia not too long ago that it's really crazy that he never realized how sick my Nana Pilar actually was, because she didn't allow anybody to see it. She was so fun and so playful. She just played it off. She didn't let anybody know the pain that she was going through. And I think that that just has to be like some type of an angel, you know, to be living with these illnesses and to be living in a lot of pain, but to just continue to laugh. And my tia said, you know, I think her grandchildren would learn from her to just live life to the fullest. My dad said that she would always tell them, you know, you guys need to all love each other, stay close to each other, and take care of each other. And I just think, I don't know, I just think some of the lessons, even though I didn't get to meet her, some of the lessons that she's instilled in her children it's still with us. It's still with our family. So my tia also talks about how much she loved to dance, that her and my grandpa would be dancing from the time the party started to the time the party ended. And I just think that that shows in all of us, all of her grandchildren, her children. We all love to dance. We love to party. When the Almanza Bezanais family gets together, it is just, it's a party, you know, and it's always a good time. And it just makes those moments that I always save, okay, at any party or wedding that I go to, I always save a dance for my tata. And of course my daddy too. But I always save a dance for my tata because I love to dance. I've always loved to dance since I was a little girl. And I just think dancing with him is it's more special now because I know that she danced with him, that she loved to dance with him. And it just makes it, you know, that much more meaningful to me. You know, I think that my tias and my dad and my uncle have so many memories of my grandma. Unfortunately, as grandchildren, we all didn't get to have those memories, but I do think that there's some lessons to learn from the life that she lived. Life is very short, and right now, specifically during the coronavirus, times are they're scary, they're overwhelming, they are unpredictable, honestly. But I think living life to the fullest is so important. Living life with a smile is so important. I really do believe in speaking things to existence. I learned that from a very good friend of mine who you guys will meet on one of the later episodes, Laura. just living life to the fullest and speaking your desires into existence and seeing results. And I feel like my grandma was only given a small amount of time on this earth, but it was very impactful. I grew up in a Chicano household, and my experience has been so different than some of the Latinos or Hispanics that I talk to. My experience with, being able to be outspoken and opinionated and having parents who accept every part of me is just amazing. I have a dad that is so affectionate and so loving. There is not one day that goes by that he doesn't tell me how much he loves me. And I think that that is so unique. Not a lot of people have that. And so I want to tell you guys today, like, you are so loved. You are so important. Even during times where things just don't make sense, just keep going, because you have a specific purpose. And so don't let things get you down. And I think I can learn that from my grandma. She knew that maybe the worst was ahead, but she didn't give up. She stayed strong for her children. She stayed strong for her grandchildren. She kept smiling, and she made sure that if this is the life that I'm going to live, I'm going to live it to the fullest. And I admire that. And it gives me even more reason to continue to push in this lifetime, because I have a lot of opportunities that maybe a lot of other people didn't have. And so before we end, I want to end with one little story that sticks with me, because I gave you guys an idea of what my tias and my dad thought about my grandma, but there is one specific story that really just makes me like so happy. So I told you guys earlier, my dad was 18 when his mom passed away. My parents have been friends for years. I think they were like in 7th and 8th grade when they met. And then in high school is when they became closer friends. So some stories that my mom and dad would share with me when my parents were younger and my grandma was still around was, one time my mom made my dad get a perm, and he had this huge afro curly hair, and my mom called the house and my grandma picked up the phone and was like, don't call back today, Deborah. Like, don't call back today, okay? My dad was so mad at my mom, and my grandma was just like, don't call back, okay? He don't call him today. And she made sure that my dad did not talk to my mom that day. So fast forward years later, and there'll be more episodes that cover my parents and the love that they have for each other, but we're fast forwarding to 27 and 28. My parents getting married. And so my mom and dad got married, and unfortunately my Nana Pilar couldn't be there. And sorry guys. And so my mom told me that one of my tias, a really close tia of ours, who was my my grandma's sister-in-law, was talking to my mom the day of the wedding, and she told my mom, Pilar would be so happy today. She would be so happy. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? Like, how do you know? Like, how do you know she would be happy? And that's just my mom, very, very out there, very outspoken. And she's like, well, because she told me. And my mom was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, she told me that she wanted to make sure that Henry married you. And so my mom was actually able to be married with my grandma's wedding rings. And I just think it's so beautiful, because my mom is a really tough character. but she really respected my Nana Pilar. She really loved my Nana Pilar because my mom says that it was hard not to love her. There was nothing to not love about her. She was great. And it just really fulfills my heart to know that my grandma wanted my dad to spend the rest of his life with my mom. And that even though she couldn't be there to, watch them get married, she left her wedding rings to him. And I really do believe she put all her energy and all her intention into the two of them being married. She spoke that into existence for my dad because she really believed that my dad needed my mom. And I know that my mom needed my dad. And I just think it's so beautiful. And so that's for you, Mom, because you are just as important in this story. And I know that you loved her just as much. My Nana loved all of her children, including her son-in-laws, her daughter-in-laws. And I know that she's watching over all of you guys. And so I know that this episode might not have been for everybody. It's not really a put together episode. Actually, it's kind of just a lot of everything. But that is for my Nana Pilar. And Nana, hopefully, even though I don't get to always hear your voice, you're hearing mine. And I hope that I am able to bring the world a little bit of who you were. And I hope that you're just watching over all of us and you're happy. And I just want to remind everybody who is listening to just live life very intentionally. Live life with the best thoughts ahead. And even when times are tough, smile, because those are still times. Those are still your moments. And, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in to Mujeres de Pilar, episode Pilar. And Nana, this is for you. I love you. Thank you, guys.